TCL is not a brand most of us are familiar with, but chances are you've heard of BlackBerry as well as Alcatel, two brand names that are owned by TCL. Now it is releasing smartphones with its own branding, starting with this one right here, the Tcl Plex. I've used Plex as my daily driver for quite a bit and there are definitely room for improvement. But given that this is the company's first smartphone, it's definitely a reasonably good device. And this is our quick review of the Tcl Plex. Let's start with the good stuff, and the Tcl Plex has incredibly long battery life. On average, I was getting between 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. Given that this phone only has a 3820 mAh battery, this is very impressive. Its fast charging rate is not bad either. Within 30 minutes of charging, the phone got up to 47% from completely empty, so that's very respectable. When it comes to performance, the Plex is no slouch either. Powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 675 chipset, this phone has adequate level of performance. I can multitask rather seamlessly with this phone and gaming on it is very enjoyable as well. I've played a couple matches of Call of Duty Mobile with this phone and it ran the game with no issues at all. Sure, compared to a device in the same price range such as the Xiaomi Mi 9T, which comes with a faster Snapdragon 730 chipset, the Plex isn't quite as fast or zippy. However, it's worth noting that this phone never felt cumbersome to use, which is important. One of the most highlighted features of the Plex is its 6.53-inch 1080p IPS display, which comes with TCL's Next Vision technology. In a nutshell, this tech allows the phone to convert SDR content to HDR, and for the most part, it accomplishes what it aims to do. Whether I'm on Netflix or YouTube, enabling Next Vision does improve the image quality quite a bit. Colors look a lot more vibrant and even details in darker areas are brought out. In fact, I'd even argue that this IPS display can rival the color reproduction of an AMOLED panel. Of course, it doesn't have the dark, deep blacks of AMOLED screens, but still, it's a very eye-pleasing display to look at. Evidently, TCL's experience in the TV business enabled it to put a really good display on the Tcl Plex. Now let's get to the bad stuff, and there are quite a few of them given that this is TCL's first smartphone. For one, there are one too many bloatware in TCL UI, although they can be easily disabled or uninstalled. Even if that's the case, it would still be confusing and rather cumbersome for the average user to comb through some of these duplicate apps. Camera performance of the Plex could use some work too. Now don't get me wrong, the 48 megapixel main sensor in the triple camera system can actually take really good shots, but my issue with this camera is the 60 megapixel wide angle sensor. It feels sluggish in low light environments, detail preservation isn't great as well, and the noise level is very noticeable too. Fortunately, the 48 megapixel main sensor is quite capable. It uses pixel binning to improve low light performance, so it is effectively outputting images at 12 megapixel. With some patience and effort, this sensor can definitely take flattering looking shots that are properly exposed, though some may not be a fan of the saturated colors. My other issues with the Plex are relatively minor. The chassis is a bit too slippery for my taste, the auto brightness has difficulty adjusting to the right level of brightness occasionally, and there is also no in-screen fingerprint sensor. Given that, again, the Mi 9T, which costs almost the same as the Plex, has an in-screen fingerprint sensor, the Plex just doesn't seem quite as attractive in comparison. That being said, some may still prefer the Plex's rear fingerprint sensor because it is faster and much more accurate than an in-screen one. So, is the Tcl Plex worth it? While retailing at 1,199 ringgit for 128 gigs of storage, the Plex has to contend with a number of other established phone makers such as Samsung, Xiaomi, and even Realme. Based on my time with the Plex, I'd definitely say it has what it takes to stand toe-to-toe with other devices in this price range. It has incredible battery life, a good quality display, and a decent camera system, except for the ultra-wide sensor. But as a newcomer to the smartphone business, TCL has to first gain consumer trust. One way they can do that is to ensure that the Plex will continue receiving support in the form of software updates, bug fixes, and whatnot. If the company can do that, I'm sure TCL is a phone maker to look out for in the foreseeable future. After all, the Plex is only the beginning of its smartphone journey. That is our quick review of the Tcl Plex. Like this video if you like it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and always stay tuned for more good stuff to come here at NextRiff.